Hey everyone, welcome back to Omens, the extra episodes. This is Tarot 101 Part 2. Hopefully the entire the entire suits. But we'll see how far we can get before this gets too long. I'm Ryan, AM air pronouns. It's gonna go, these are all gonna go up a little bit late, because, yeah, I had some technical difficulties yesterday, so couldn't stay up all night trying to record. I just don't have the light for it. Interesting as it would have been. Alright, so if you haven't watched part 1 explaining what all a tarot deck is, basic structure of it, and the an introduction to the court cards, go ahead, go back to listen to that. If you already kind of know what a tarot deck is and you want to skip through all that, I say right around 30 minutes. I can't remember the exact timestamp, but right around there is when I just start talking about the court cards. So, but yeah, let's get into it. So this hopefully doesn't take forever and a day. Alright, so the first suit we're going to look into is the Wand suit. And again, I'm using my Vice Versa Tarot deck here. Probably not going to use the backside of them too much unless it's relevant. But anyway, so the Wands are the suit most commonly associated with the element of fire, which means astrologically they're associated with the 3 fire signs of astrology: Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. They're kind of one of their main keywords, and we'll go through a few of them, is action. These are the Wands are the suit of action and just movement. The next 4 kind of keywords and associations are going to be common throughout all suits in their specific ways. So, when it comes to, I don't know what I was putting this with, but so, either way, so this keyword associated with kind of how we act, human-wise, I guess, and what these cards mean is like kind of reaction. So it's action, reaction, same and different type deal, how we react to stuff. They correspond to the self, more specifically. Wands are very independent based, very they have to do a lot with independence. They're strong-willed, so they have to do with the self. Yeah, the smallest part of our human circles is ourself, so that's what these correspond to. Metaphysically, like human part-wise, they correspond kind of the soul or the spirit, whatever you want to call it, in a specific way. Basically kind of our soul. Alchemically, fire is half of sulfur. The 3 main alchemical elements. Sulfur is create a mix of fire and air, and it corresponds again to the soul. So fire is kind of half of sulfur. So again, more keywords kind of associated: will, independence, movement, light, power, force, etc. Yada yada yada. You kind of get the idea. It's anything to do with movement and power, as you can see kind of here just right off the bat in the Ace of Wands, with a hand holding a wand up and there's a lightning strike in the distance. Alright, so the way I'm going to talk about these suits... Hey, I'm talking here. Okay then. The way I'm going to go through these suits is I'm going to go Ace through 10 in kind of a storyline, because, like I mentioned in the previous episode, whereas court cards are characters and majors or trumps are kind of archetypes, our pips are our scenes, our chapters in the book, our scenes from play. They're situations. Yeah, situations, basically. They're a situational energy type deal. This is kind of what the general environment around you, or this is how you need to act, kind of a deal. It's like this scene from a book is playing out right here. And again, like I said in my previous video, I that's what I like about tarot, is it kind of plays everything out like a storyline, which is what most of life is. Alright, so our story of the Ace of the Wands. We start in the Ace of Wands. We see here most common motif is just a single wand being held up by a hand, and like I said, there's a lightning strike in the distance, striking a very tall standing tree. The other side of this, which I almost like better, it's the that side, and I was going to use it before I decided nah, is that wand, same wand again, but everything's misty and foggy, you can't really see the forest, and there's just a bright sun coming up and a hawk representing freedom up here in the corner. So again, we still have that power, but it's a little more gentle and spread out. So basically, the keyword you can associate with this one in the storyline is energy. This is the immediate energy. This is when you're first stepping forward onto what have you, when you're first starting to do something. This is initial energy that makes you go, huh, what if? What if I went and did this? Or the actual, well, not even so much that, but more the actual, just the energy to get going. We're going to do kind of the inverse. So the inverse of this, kind of the less healthy aspect of it, is kind of chaos, basically, is the best word I can think. It's where there's still energy, but instead of it being directed and starting to move forward on its pathway, it's scattered, incoherent. There's energy everywhere, but you got nowhere to put it, nothing to do with it, and you have no idea what's going on. So that's kind of the inverse side of this. Is sometimes that energy is just, well, pretty much useless. You're not putting it to any good use or something. So that's our first story scene. Our next one is the Two of Wands, and the keyword we have with this is deliberation. So we have here a person standing on a high stone wall overlooking valleys with two wands. In this card, leaning against the wall. In the RWS, traditional RWS, they're bolted to the wall, which has to do with all your power. The hermetic title for this card is the Lord of Dominion. So this person is, she's lord over her domain. She's not, she's satisfied where she is. Yes, there's power and energy in this person's where they are. All their energy is where they are, but as we can see, because they're looking out over the walls of their castle, the reason I call this deliberation is they're deliberating moving forward somewhere else. They have this initial spark from the ace, and they're wondering, you know, what's out there? Where could I go? What could I do? But also, should I really? Is it a good idea? And that's where our inverse word for this one comes in. It's hesitance or hesitancy. It's on his, like, you know, I could go out and do something new, but I'm also really safe and well established here, so do I really want to? It's instead of actually kind of deliberating and making plans to actually go forward, you're kind of just like, but I could just stay. So basically, once we get past that deliberation, once we decide to actually go forward and actually go do whatever, whether it's something where we are or something beyond where we are, whether we hesitated. Either way, our next step in the story is forward momentum. So we have here another cloaked figure we see the back of, staring out, this time not on a desert, not on a castle wall, but onto a vast open plain of just desert. It's like there's nothing here, and he really wouldn't be all that wrong to go backwards, because there's nothing but unknown in front of him. So they could go back to the castle they came from, and actually in this deck, that side, you can see there's a giant forest right behind this figure. So obviously it came from somewhere really good, so why does she want to just kind of continue out into the unexplored, unforgiving, barren plain? Because sometimes it's exciting, it's adventure, it's like moving into the unknown, somewhere we didn't know. We see here, because of these two wands by their side, that they have come, again, like from this side, somewhere well established, and they've decided to go somewhere new. They're changing their path. They're changing their plan of action, going forward somewhere new. Oh, the inverse of this card, of course, is halted. So instead of forward momentum, it's a halt. Like, I can't actually move forward right now. You're feeling kind of stuck. Like, you just can't move forward even though you really want to. There's something holding you back. So that's the inverse of that. So our next story scene is implementation. Is the one is the word I got for this one. So we have here what's known as I can't remember off the top of my head. I actually talked about it back in the Four of Wands episode, so you can go back and listen to that. But we have here a canopy, which can be either both a canopy for celebration, whether of a marriage or a party, or even just to celebrate. I forget what the actual name is, but it's most likely based. This canopy is most likely based off a Jewish religious festival where they set up a very simple canopy, kind of like this, and they stay out there for a week to thank their God for the harvest that he's brought in. So we have that celebration. It's like, okay, we've had our initial spark of movement. We've decided to go forward. We've moved forward. And now we're actually implementing our plan. We're actually setting the framework and the cornerstones to grow something. And you know what? If you're just starting something, some of the best energy you can give a new project is to, hey, we're starting something. Let's celebrate. And just be happy. So that's kind of why this card is such a celebration party card. It's not quite as the same party card as the Three of Cups. We'll get into that. But it's got that party atmosphere of, yay, we're starting something. It's like when you think of barn raising, it's like that is a whole freaking party. They're building this barn, but it's a bunch of neighbors all coming together to help their neighbor put up a whole new barn. And there's food, there's music, there's dancing, there's laughing, there's the actual work, and that's kind of what this card is kind of a feeling of. Even from the flip side, it's just kind of like all of this is ahead of you is on that side, but this side is the, hey, we're celebrating, it's time to go. So the flip side of that is kind of, the inverse of it is kind of a false start. It's like, I'm going to paraphrase a bit, but Kitchen Table Tarot, who I've just finished reading, so it's fresh on my mind. As she put it, it's that false start that, okay, we're ready to go on a road trip. Oh, shoot, did we turn off the stove? Okay, we're ready to go. We checked that, we're ready to go. Oh, shoot, did we lock the door? Okay, door's locked. Let's go. And you forgot your headphones. Okay, one more time back to the house. It's those false starts that, are we going to actually get this thing done? It's like, not everything's ready to actually start. You need and if this card comes up in this kind of position, usually means that you need to double check that you've crossed your T's and dotted your I's and made sure everything is actually ready to go, so you don't have that, okay, we're about to start and we forgot this. So that's kind of what this card is. It's the implementation or the false start. The next one is conflict. So every great project is going to have those times when you're like, well, we've started, but something isn't quite add up. Somebody's clashing with something. Even if you're working on a project by yourself, you run across something that is conflicting. And another word, couple of other keywords that also get associated with this Five of Wands are frustration and competition. So it's, you started something, but now and I boiled those down to conflict, because both of those are a form of conflict, just in two different ways. And you're running into a brick wall, or you're running into somebody who doesn't agree with you and wants to do something different, and so there's kind of a tussle going on. Wildly Tarot Podcast describes this card as bumbling idiots, that everybody's getting in each other's way and falling over each other because everybody wants to do their own thing. And nobody's actually quite talking. There's miscommunication going on. So it's kind of that, it's just conflict, whether it's like extreme, everybody's pissed off, or whether it's just, uh-oh, I stepped on your toes. Excuse me, pardon me, oh, excuse me. It depends on kind of the energy coming from it in that reading. The inverse of this side actually is when you're like, oh my gosh, this fight is not worth it. I'm just gonna quit arguing. I'm going to go to my desk, I'm going to do my part, and I'm going to do it well, and I'm just going to get it done. Just like everybody else can just freaking bitch back and forth all they like. But I'm just going to go do my thing. This is when you're like, okay, this fight is not worth it, this competition, whatever, or, you know what, somebody was, if it's a project on yourself, by yourself, you're like, okay, this thing came up, but it's really not important for me to focus on. It's just somebody wailing about something or other, or whatever, or it's like, oh crap, I just realized I have like 3 different things to do instead of this one. But in this inverse, it's like, okay, I'm just going to focus on this one, and then I'll get to those other 2 later. It's like, I don't need to compete as to which one's more important. It's like, I have my plan, I'm going to stick with it, go with it. So that's kind of this 5 of Wands. And then our next card is the 6 of Wands, which, every freaking time this card comes up, my first word in my head pops in my head is victory. The word I decided to use for it instead, keyword-wise, is accomplishment. So this is somebody who has, he's riding on his white horse with his laurel held high, and everybody, a bunch of people cheering him. So he's accomplished something, whether it be, like, through, since this horse is hidden, whether it be through taking the credit for somebody's whether it be through either something he did himself or taking credit for somebody else's work. I've always seen this card as kind of false victory for some reason, but doesn't always mean that. It can mean that, and I think some of that comes with the fact that this horse is covered, as was pointed out. It's like, there's no way a horse could actually, like, walk with a blanket that freaking big over its legs. So what's actually under the horse? What is that horse actually? So it's kind of, it's always a little unsurety of victory, but but this card is, like I said, accomplishment. He's getting the recognition and the fame for doing something. Whether it's deserved or not, earned or not, is up for interpretation as opposed to other cards and intuition. The inverse of it, somebody's a braggart. Somebody who builds himself up, says they did all... Most of us know Harry Potter films. Gilderoy Lockhart. He was one of the characters in the Harry Potter franchise that was... he took credit. He wrote a ton of books, authored a ton of books about all his amazing accomplishments, defeating all kinds of monsters and whatnot. However, he admits near the end of the book or the story or the movie or whatever you watched or read or whatever, near the end of the story, he admits that he actually basically wrote down the achievements of other people and then erased their memory so he could get all the credit for that. So this is that's kind of who this card inverse is, or reverse. It's somebody whose accomplishments are empty, somebody who's just bragging, and it could be somebody that you're like, yeah, sure, we totally know you did that, or you think they might have actually done that, but they really didn't. And this card's going, you need to take a closer look under that horse. So that's kind of the 6 of Wands. So that's the 6 of Wands. Accomplishment. So then once you've accomplished that, well, okay, so, almost forgot. So the other thing is, this horse is still moving. So, she's accomplished what she set out to do, but there's still more to go. This is a 6. It's not the end. So we've still got 4 more cards to go. So this accomplishment, it's a small victory, but it's still got more to do. And that more to do comes up next in our 7 of Wands. And this one is, the keywords I got for this one is defense. It's like, you've accomplished this one small thing, and people are all happy, and you're all happy, but you've still got more to do, and then people are like, and then sort of, you're like, well, I've already accomplished it, so why should I do anything more? And should I, so you've got all this person, they've got all these wands right here, which they're kind of having to defend, like, hey, no, nobody's going to come steal my work or steal my stuff. I'm going to see this job through, and I'm going to see this thing through. I'm going to protect this thing. This is my hard work. I'm going to protect it from people trying to take it, or from my own, even my own laziness and procrastination trying to drop it all. I'm going to defend it. I'm actually going to work through it. The inverse of this card, the keyword I have for it is paranoia. Someone who is so used to defending everything they do constantly that they've forgotten how to, that even though they're not being attacked, they've forgotten how to not be defensive. So, paranoia. Alright, and so our next card after that, after we've shored up our defenses, our next card is growth. It's like we've, so the 8 of Wands, another card with this, another keyword for this could be like movement, like really fast movement. In fact, that's what it usually means with people, and it tends to be one of the more difficult cards because literally most decks just have 8 wands like all flying through the air, which, okay, great, and but for the most part it means just moving very fast, going, growing. It's time to go forward and just move ahead. It's like we're at an 8, so our story, our character has gone through all this stuff, built up all these things, is protecting them, ready to keep them going. They've protected them, and now the attackers aren't there anymore, so they can just go and grow. And this card just tends to be just moving very fast. It's like time for things to move, time for things to grow, time for stuff to just keep happening and go. In the reverse aspect, it can usually mean obstacles. It's like something's actually like blocking your path from moving and going and growing. It's like you've got stuff to deal with and overcome and such and such. So then we've gone, and then our next one, the 9 of Wands, is kind of a similar deal as the 7. It's again a very protective one. This one is, instead of defending your hoard or your trove or whatever, your stuff, this is actual, like, this one is more strongly, instead of defense, this is protection. It's like, so this person on here, they've been through hell and back. They are beaten and battered and scarred, and they have conquered and defeated their enemies, and they are just like, they're beaten down, but they've got all these wands right here that are still standing upright. And whereas in the 7 of Wands, they were lying down, as you can see here, because it's like to protect these small defenseless things and give them somewhere to go. This one is, they've grown quite a bit thanks to that 8 of Wands, and now there's still protection here. You know what? I just forgot. I actually used the wrong inverse word for the 7 of Wands. It's actually inverse. It's defeat. So let's go back to this sec. So inverted, instead of defending and protecting, it's someone who has been defeated, has lost control of these wands, and is basically they've lost. They've got nothing there. They're gonna have to go back to the beginning and start over, or at least go back a few to start over, try again, and move forward. So but again, defended, move forward, obstacles, movement. They've gone forward, grown. Now they're protective. They're very protective of the things they've managed to do. The inverse of this one is paranoia. It's someone who has, this one definitely says more paranoia than the 7 of Wands. So in this one, the paranoia, again, similar things like I said earlier kind of apply. Someone who's just so used to having to protect and to be on the defensive and be attacked that they've given up trying to move forward. They've just like so used to having to keep things safe that they've forgotten how to move on from where they are, how to let their project, their work, their wands grow more and beyond what they are. So, and with that, because they're so used to protecting and defending those, sometimes they start 10 of Wands, carrying all those wands all by themselves in the most uncomfortable position possible. This one, the person has the wands on their back tied together, which actually isn't too bad of a way to carry them. I mean, it's just a lot. It's burdensome. And that's the key word with this card, is burden. Someone who's trying to keep all that stuff on themselves and not asking for help, not delegating tasks or responsibilities. They're just gonna push their way through it to the last, even though it might kill them or seriously mess them up. Inverse of this is actually relief. Ten of Wands is one of those cards that the inverted meaning is actually a lot more positive than the upright meaning. So for relief, it's like, okay, I don't actually need to carry all these wands. I can actually give some of these. I can drop some of these. Let somebody else have some of them. Delegate responsibilities. Hire people to actually work for me. Yes, Bobby, you're very rude. I can hire people to work for me. I don't have to. Some of these aren't even mine. Why am I carrying them? Just like leave those by the wayside. That's how it's often come up for me if I've ever gotten a Ten of Wands in a reading. And it hasn't done that for a while, but I used to carry a lot of stuff I didn't need to carry, and it came up and inverted, and my friend was like, what the fuck are you doing carrying all these? Drop some of them. Which is usually what you'll get told if this comes up for you. So that's our wands. Our wand suit. All the fighter suit. Alright, next up we have our swords suit. Put those away. So swords represent are most commonly associated with the element of air, because swords cut like thought. So the zodiac signs associated with them are Libra, Aquarius, and Gemini. They represent intellect, and they represent intellect. The next one, it's knowledge. So the parts of our brain, we've gone from reaction of the wands to the knowledge of the swords. Circles, it's this kind of wands are self. In swords, we start our connections that tend to be a little bit more just cerebral. It's like that person that you talk to on the bus about something, but you don't even know their name. It's kind of transitory connections type deal. Our heart isn't really in it. We don't really care too much about this other person besides that they're a person. And we talk to them maybe. Or we just saw them. It's just those immediate initial connections that are kind of a little bit more out of range. It's like I go to this synagogue and I only know like 2 people there, and everybody else I'm connected with this, or I'm connected with my class by definition the fact that we should probably all graduate the same year and we go to the same school. Those kind of connections. So some of the keywords associated with swords are, so we have connections. Oh, and then the part of us that's connected to is our mind, obviously. And then alchemical wise, it's that air half of sulfur, which is the soul, and then air half of mercury, which is the spirit. So it's two more. So mercury stands for the spirit of the essences of things, and sulfur is the soul. Some of the other keywords associated with swords are truth, clarity, assertion, and mental illness. So because the swords have so much to do with the mind, they come up often for, from what I've heard, for mental illness as well, especially in some of the later swords, which we'll get to. So whereas whereas the wands was kind of the suit of creativity and creation, and the story of creation and creativity. The swords are the story of the mind. So the Ace of Swords, we have a sword here, a hand holding a sword with the alchemical symbol for air on it, and there's a crown up above and a long stretching valley, kind of foggy, with a path straight down it that it looks like we're about to start down. That's not a path, that's clearing in the forest. It looks like a path. So we're actually pretty high up in the air. So the Ace of Swords kind of represents, again, that first spark. In this case, it's the first spark of clarity that, oh, I have it. I have this idea. I can do this thing. where you go. It's that sudden light bulb moment, that initial clarity of, I just connected these two dots together. And the inverse part, that's kind of that mist, tip of the keyword I have for it is just mist. I couldn't think of another one. It's one of those, I just had that on the tip of my tongue and I couldn't think of it, and I almost got that connection, but it ran away from me. It's that, oh no, it's not there. It's like, oh, and, yep, lost it. So that's kind of the Ace of Swords inverted. And it's like, it's there, but it's gone. So, but again, once we have that initial clarity, that spark of, oh my gosh, I just totally understood something, like, that just kind of dawned on me. I had an epiphany. I guess to be another way to put it is an epiphany. So after that, we're like, whoa, this just kind of changed my brain. So in the Two of Swords, the keyword I have for this is solitude. And it's actually very interesting. So in the Kitchen Table Tarot, she describes this as very solitude. She goes into this long spiel on loneliness at first, and I'm like, well, that's going to color anybody's. And then she goes into, but this card isn't lonely. It's just about that initial solitude. I'm like, no, you just went into this page and like half a page of the worst parts of loneliness and being alone. How do you think that's not going to color people's perception of this card? But the Two of Swords is more of that kind of, that solitude of decision making, that I just rocked my whole world with this epiphany, and I need some timeout. The way she's got those swords crossed is kind of a timeout, almost a timeout signal. Like, hang on, I need to take some time alone on this on this little rock out in the middle of the sea that's out in the middle of the ocean, stormy ocean, to just stop and think. I just need everybody to just shut up, leave me alone, and I need to take a minute to digest this. I gotta understand where this thought came from, what the implications are, what all this means. It's that solitude to make a decision. I've also heard of it most commonly and I've used it too, is that decision that you kind of already know the answer to, but you're trying to kind of pretend you don't and try to see if there's a different answer. So that often comes up too, is it's like, yes, I know this is the right answer, but come on, isn't there anything else? And that's kind of where I believe the inverse would be, is that kind of loneliness of, shit, I don't want to actually be here thinking about this. I'm like lost in my own thoughts, wandering around, just running around in circles because I don't understand this. I don't want to admit the actual answer that I already know. It's, I don't have a very good keyword for this one. I have loneliness and solitude, but I'm like, they don't quite fit for this card because it's either that solitary in the upright again. It's that I'm gonna digest this, and okay, once I figure it all out, we'll move forward from there. But in inverse, it's like, shit, this is a really bad idea. I really don't like this, and I'm gonna run around in circles. But either way, with the swords tend to be tough. This is a very tough suit of, they're clear-cut, their truth. They give no fucks. They're not going to let you wishy-washy your way out of something or kind of step to the side and pretend you totally went there. It's like, no, you have to go there exactly. And because of that, because of all that deliberation, this next part is where it really gets tough, is the Three of Swords. And this is a card that comes up, and it's one of those cards that people go, oh shit, that's a bad card. And it's like, yes and no. It is kind of a bad card because it hurts. So the keyword for this one is heartbreak or heartache. It's this new thing I have had to discover has caused some serious hurt. It's broken up this old way of belief I had, this way I've always been doing stuff. It's like I'm gonna have to like shear that part off. So it's that, ow, my heart now hurts because, you know, I just caused some serious pain by breaking something off. If we get stuck in that, however, that's when we get in the inverse of, like, I put the keyword grief, but I almost quite don't like it, but that's the only keyword I can come up with. It's that long-standing grief where, like, woe is me, I'm just never going to move forward from this heartbreak. Never going to move forward from the fact that my child is actually trans, and, gods, I really just can't believe that they're doing this to me, and yada, yada, yada. It's like, upright, it's like, oh, well, my kid's trans, so I'm kind of lost my vision of who I thought they were, and now I'm having to cope with this new one. But we can move forward from those Three of Swords. It's like, once we get over the heartbreak, we can move forward. But if we get stuck in an inverse, we're like, oh my god, my kid is dead. And it's like, no, they're not. They're right there. It's like, but they're not the same person. It's like, oops, I'm too dramatic. That's the Three of Swords inverse. It's like, oh my god, say my kid is gay, now I'm never gonna have grandbabies. It's like, fuck you. You got plenty of kids out there. Go adopt some grandbabies, jeez. But anyway, see my point. This is overdone. The Three of Swords inverted is they're just stuck wallowing in their grave, refusing to move forward. Upright, it's that initial heartbreak, but we're gonna move forward and move past that. Once we sit and cry in the rain for a little bit, as we can see on the back side of this. He's just looking, just kind of crying at his sword, which has a blue flower of new life behind it, by the way. So once we move forward from that, well, we've just kind of gone and racked our heart and brain for a little bit, so of course we're going to need to take a bit of a break. The keyword associated with Four of Swords is rest. It's like, I've just, like, had a bunch of stuff handed on me and gone through some shit. I need to take a breather, just let my mind rest. If you get this card inverted, it's usually okay, now you're just kind of starting to wallow, get up and get moving. The inverted word for this one is actually scattered. It's I should really look at my keywords and remember stuff before I got to it. Though, you need to get up is kind of one way of looking at it. So in this one, in upright, the Four of Swords, all the energy is kind of like bleh, and it needs to just kind of settle down, coalesce. Just take a breathing moment. Inverted, mine's still going a million miles an hour. It's not coalescing and bringing itself down to restful peace so you can actually digest it. It's just, and what about this and this and this and just going everywhere. It's all kind of scattered. So in that case, probably your best bet is to not try to lie down and let your mind just run. It's most likely you probably should just get up and move. Because sometimes we need to send that energy from our mind to our body to get it moving so our mind can actually settle down and do what it needs to do, which is go back to this upright position of actually resting and focusing. So then after we've rested, we have the Five of Swords, which always kind of throws down a little bit. So usually after we've rested, we like get back up and we're like, okay, we need to get some new information. We've been hurt. We've been through some shit, and we just kind of want to get back on our feet. So the keyword with this is take. It's like, you know what? I'm going to take this information from over here. I'm going to take this from somebody. I'm going to be this guy's kind of an asshole about it. You can see her face is looking kind of smug, and then her opponent is at her feet, just kind of like head bowed and crying a little bit. And they're just like, whatever. I got these swords now. It's like, I've defeated you, I'm now the master. It's like, what are you going to do with all those swords? They're kind of, it's kind of useless. It's like, you can only really fight with one or two anyway, so what do you need 5 for? So the card for this is take. It's like, to continue our example for, my kid is now gay and I'm never going to have grandbabies. Like, okay, I've accepted that. So now I'm going to... God, what would they even do? Trying to think of a good example. I would be like, well, they might be gay, but they can adopt and they can have foster kids, and I'm going to push them to kind of look at this and look at that and the artificial insemination. It's like, dude, none of your business. Slow the fuck down. It's like, quit trying to take their choices from them to fit your new worldview type deal. It's that taking... It's that gathering of that information, but kind of trying to be reckless and rude with it. Inverted, it's even worse than that. I went ahead and used theft for this. It's not only you're trying to steal that information and kind of be smug about it, you're refusing to let other people access it. Now you're refusing to listen to other people listen at all to anybody else. It's one of those, no, I'm right and you're wrong, and that's because I say so, and no, you're not allowed to go. It's those parents that refuse to let their kids read some books because that stuff's evil. That's Satanism, and it's like, it's a book on mindfulness. It's evil. It's no good for them. They should only read this book. That kind of stuff. It's an actual, like, theft of knowledge, a refusal to let other people have it. But anyway, once you've stolen all that knowledge, well, as we can see from this side, sometimes other people will walk away if you're constantly just taking and refusing to give. But, so you've got all that, and well, at a certain point, some people will realize, they're left with nothing. So that's where this next part comes in, and Six of Swords is like, okay, they've taken all this, they've stolen it from me, so it's time for me to just move on somewhere else. I have what knowledge I want that is protecting me. These swords are like through the boat, kind of as a shield for the people in the boat as they're moving forward into uncharted territory, unknown waters. This card is very strongly associated with travel, and it's the key word I got for this is change. I use for this is change. It's like, it's time to change my point of view. It's time to move on somewhere new. It's time to, like, take this information I've gathered, realize there's something else that I wasn't seeing before, and try to change my perspective and my point of view. It's like, sometimes gathering all those swords up and that knowledge, yeah, we might be kind of an asshole about it, but we actually pay attention to that knowledge and use it correctly, then we actually change our point of view and move forward in perspective. Now, inverted, this card is getting stuck in a loop. And getting stuck in a feedback loop of the same things running over and over, refusing to move, refusing to change. It's the Five of Swords inverted, where it's like they're just stealing the knowledge and you're just stealing the knowledge, gathering it up, refusing to actually really look at it. You just want to have it. And then you just haven't changed your perspective or haven't changed anything. You're just stuck in a loop. Constantly just running through the same thing, running through the same patterns over and over again. But if you do move forward and change, then you realize there's even more knowledge out there. So the Seven of Swords gets commonly a very bad rap. It is kind of that thief sneaking away in the night in this card, and oftentimes sneaking away, carrying a bunch of swords and just like kind of creeping away. The Wildly Terror podcast, one of the ladies on there, she likes to see this card as information gathering. And I think spy work is definitely a good keyword for it. It's like, there's information out there, there's stuff you don't know and you need to know. And there's stuff that's been hidden from... This is kind of that, there's something that's been hidden from you, so go find it. You might have to be careful and quiet about it. You might just have to maneuver and like scroll through their Facebook page and try to make sure you don't actually click like on anything so they never knew you were there. It's like, maybe go talk to somebody else, get the other side of the story. This is a card of information gathering, yes, very much so, and quiet and secret information gathering. So again, spy work. Inverted, we have dishonesty. It's where instead of trying to uncover something, you're trying to cover something up. You're trying to make sure somebody doesn't find out about what you did last summer. That sort of thing. It's like, these are my secrets that I'm really scared about anybody finding out about, so I'm going to just kind of cover this up and pat it down and make sure nobody ever finds it, even though they might. And some of this, the way it might come up is, especially that side, if it comes up like this, we see that pile of dirt and the skull underneath, and it's like, somebody's going to find out. Somebody's looking, somebody's about to find out. You're not going to get away with this. If it was upright, it'd be like you're about to uncover something. Inverted, it's like somebody's going to uncover something about you. Which, again, what I really like about the Vice Versa Tarot, they can get very specific. So I like more images in my cards, so I can get specific. Alright. So you've gathered all this information. You've uncovered these hidden things that you were probably not happy to find out about, as evidenced in the Eight of Swords, because now you're just like, shit, now I know too much, and now where do I go, what do I do, who do I trust, and you're just like feeling all tied and helpless and surrounded by insecurities and fears. Just remember, these are all in your head. And that is most often the first thing that pops into a reader's mouth when this card comes up. Hi. I cannot hear myself. They've got that perfect monotone that actually makes my ears block up, which means I'm probably talking louder and don't realize it. Anyway, all this new knowledge of hidden secrets and stuff can cause like extreme anxiety. First words out of a reader's mouth will often be, "It's all in your head," and you can just choose to set it down and walk away. Because as we can see from the backside, those ropes are liable to fall at any second. If this person stays tense, they'll stay up for the most part. But as soon as you relax, walk away, freedom's in sight. Because we got that eagle there for freedom and independence. It's like all the fears and anxieties and worries, you can just kind of let it go. However, they can compile. And it's interesting. It's like, this is where the story is a little bit weird. This is where the swords tend to slowly get darker and darker, right here. If you get up and walk away, you kind of stop here at the 8 and change your course type deal. However, sometimes we get stuck in this, and that's most often what happens, is all these anxieties are right here, and yeah, we know we could walk away, but it's just, they're all right there, we now know. And so we come to this Nine of Swords where they kind of tend to block, and it can be painful. It's like, you know, I thought I knew these people, I thought they were my friends. Okay, I might be like talking about a specific point in my life now. I thought they were my friends, and I thought they cared for me, but they were talking and gossiping behind my back, and they were causing problems, and even though I was trying to fix it, it just wasn't working. So all these swords are just hanging in the air in front of this person, just kind of blocking them from going out that window to freedom. It's like there's pain. You know what I forgot? I forgot this 8 of Swords inverted. So the inversion of this is pretty obviously release. It's like you've decided all this stuff just isn't worth your time, isn't worth your trouble. You're just going to stand up, let the rope fall off, and walk away. So that's the invert of this card. So it's a good card to come up inverted. Or reversed. So back to the 9. Pain is the upright. It's like, just like, I can't fucking deal with this. All this stuff is right here. Inverted, this one, according to some people, actually gets worse. Kitchen Table Tarot is like, all these swords are actually falling down on you now. It's like, sometimes this can be kind of like you can see this one of two ways. Sometimes it can be like the 8 of Swords where it's falling away and you're moving. The Kitchen Table Tarot actually described it as even worse. It's where that pain becomes depression, becomes chronic, becomes you just literally cannot get up and get away because you're just so bogged down you just can't. Which does happen, because even on that side, you can see, oops, wrong side. Over here, there's, right next to that window, which is just beyond those swords floating in front of this person, there's a shadow figure off to one side. It's like, yeah, you might be able to get up and walk away. You might be able to get through the swords, but you're going to have me clinging to you. And it's kind of a representation of our shadow side. So our shadow side tends to be something that we have created through habit or reflex or trauma or whatever, old memories, that is something that does its work to protect us. It's like how I kind of pretty much always constantly refuse to ever get into a fight because my shadow is trying to protect me from getting hurt, because my previous pattern has been, if there's a fight, I will get hurt. So my shadow is like, yeah, you could walk through those swords, but buddy, you're gonna get hurt. So again, upright pain. It's like we can probably still kind of get up and move through the swords. They're kind of a little bit, they're just kind of floaty glowing clouds at this point. They're not real swords, but inverse, we just don't have the strength. We just cannot move. It's just not worth it. We just can't. And when we can't move, and that pain becomes overwhelming, well, that's when we hit the rock bottom. So 10 of Swords, we have a suit of armor here, stabbed full of swords. And yes, it is an empty suit of armor, as we can see from the opposite side, from that side. The person is actually outside, just kind of looking at the armor like, what now? But either way, we have finality. It's the end. It's rock bottom. It's literally rock bottom because there's a bunch of rocks everywhere. It's just like, I can't... I'm done. There's nothing more I can add on to it. Nothing more I can take away. So my only choice after this is freedom and moving on. That eclipse here in the back on that side represents... eclipses represent new beginnings. They're going to cover up what you thought you knew, and when they move away, they're going to cover something up and reveal its darkness, and then once that eclipse moves away, you step into new light and realize it's newness. Newness, yeah. So this finality, it's the end. It's just like one of those, just kind of stay here for a little while, just take a breather or 5. It's even more so than the 4 of Swords. It's just like, whoa, stop. Just stop. You can't get up on your own anymore. This is somewhere where you're going to need help. And that help comes in the form of the reverse side, where it's keyword is resurrection. It's like, you hit rock bottom, now you're getting up, you're moving forward, you're starting somewhere new. It's like, this is the end of all that mess that you just went through. Somewhere new to go. Alright, so that's our swords, and we're only at 51 minutes. Yeah. Might actually be able to get through at least the cups without this getting too long. I might save the pentacles to go with the majors. That'll be interesting. Alright. So yeah, next up we have our cups. So cups correspond to the element of water. Astrological signs of Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. They're kind of all over it in tone. Keyword is emotions. They represent our intuition, our irrational gut feelings of something's not right here or something is very right here. I'm ready to go. In the human body, they represent our heart. So we've gone from our soul to our mind, and now we're moving to our heart. This is the seat of our feelings. It's basically the seat of our feelings. Again, also represents logic, which kind of tends to sit more in or intuition, which kind of tends to sit more in the gut area. So kind of that whole abdominal area. Connections-wise, or circle-wise, represents our friendships. It's when we actually go do stuff, and we know somebody's name, and we actually meet up with them on occasion and spend hours with them instead of just like 5 minutes on a bus or something. It's when we actually get to know people. So our circle of friends. Alchemically, it's the other half of Mercury or the spirit and half of Salt or the body. Where'd it go? Again, keywords, emotions, relations, or relationships of any kind. Don't get hung up on the romance. That does come up, but romance, it's usually not so much... I don't know if it's usually sexual or not. Everybody just describes it as romantic, and that's because nobody actually separates the two, which is irritating. But it represents our relationships, our romantic, our sexual, our platonic, our familial, our work relationships, even work and business. It's like anything that we have regular, steady contact and we built something with, that's a relationship. And cups have to deal with that. Alright. So, our story. So this is the story of our emotions, of our heart. We've gone through our passion to our mind, and now we're on to our heart. So the first one, our Ace of Cups, overflowing. That's that spring and font of energy of just emotion and feeling of whether we intensely love or hate someone, or we absolutely adore, awe, whatever. It's usually, like I said, it usually has to do with the relationships. So it's like, excuse me, first meet someone and we're just like, we feel overabundance of emotion for them, whether it be love or hate. It's just all overflowing. Usually love, not so much hate, is what this usually means. Be interesting to see if this ever comes up as hate for a reading. I mean, I usually think strong emotions, all emotions, but most of the cups tend to do with love, the love side of the coin. Inverse, it's emptiness. We're not overflowing. Everything's just drained all out. We're just dead, tired. It's emotionally drained. That's what the Ace of Cups inverted is. It's just like everything's just emotionally drained. Alright. So after we've had our overflowing abundance of love and connection, now we come to the Two of Cups, which is partnership or connections. I like connections better, but partnership also works very well for this because it's two different people, two different parts of ourselves even, meeting, seeing eye to eye, exchanging, in this case, their snakes are twining together, which, okay, that just sounded really bad. So if you're not actually watching this audio, visually, basically these two people have one hand together and the other hand they're each holding a cup, and there are snakes coming out of the cup that are twining around each other, kind of like they do on a caduceus, and there's a bright star right up above the two snakes. So this is where we've gone from that overflowing of, oh my gosh, it's so nice to meet you, to, hey, we've actually got a real connection here. We can see eye to eye. We are on the same wavelength. We're on the same wavelength. We're vibing. We're chilling. Inverted, it can be discord. It's like we're just not meeting somewhere here. Everything's just kind of off. We don't really like each other. That's kind of more where the hate comes on. And we're just like, there's a clash. It's two sides of two magnets with the same freaking poles that just will not go together because they just push against each other and they just refuse to connect. So discord. Alright, so we've had our partnership, and now we have the Three of Cups, and this is the one card that I decided for simplicity's sake to get as close to RWS as possible. I am going to use that side for it because this side is just a single woman by herself, or single person by themselves. That doesn't really show what this card is about. That side does more, where there's three people all dancing and celebrating together. This one person here in the foreground is lifting a cup up, kind of in celebration or libation. Friendship. So this card's keyword is support. This is where that partnership, that vibe tribe, you're now supported by it. You're no longer just on equal footing learning each other. You're actually... This is a card very much about joy, friendships, and celebration, honestly. It's those people you hold near and dear that support you unconditionally, or mostly unconditionally. It's like, I mean, they're probably not going to support you if you decide to do something self-destructive, but they're going to, like, okay, no, that's not a good idea. So, this card's all about support and celebration. It's usually more focused on friendships than, like, romantic relationships, but you could apply it to other things, like, say, if in a work environment, it's like your coworkers support you. It's like you are working as a lead project manager or whatever it's called, and your team supports you. They're there to make sure you've got this right, and they hope you've got their backs, and y'all are doing great. In reverse, its keyword is strained. That support really isn't there. It's kind of strained. It's like you're taking advantage of it, and somebody feels pissed off about it. Or somebody's taking advantage of the support, whether it be yours or theirs, or somebody else's, and it's causing strain. It's like, you know what? You're not holding up your end of the seesaw. I'm the one doing all the work here, and you're just kind of bouncing up and down as I do the actual pushing and lifting and stuff. It's like there's not a lot of... the support system is wonky, and it's probably gonna break. So after support, we have our... I keep losing it. Patience. So we've had that celebration, and one of the things I say is this celebration is so freaking much that there's so much joy. Everybody's cool together and just going back and forth, running back ideas. And after that, we tend to get a bit exhausted. And sometimes those ideas run out, especially here in this Four of Cups, which is... all those cups are spilled out. It's like there's nothing in them, and our person here is now just kind of like, what even am I doing? It's that emotional drainage from the Ace of Cups reversed. It's like it's like you're kind of just like, this is falling out, so now I'm just kind of, the patience part comes in, I'm kind of just waiting for something new to come along, something good to come forth. So I'm just kind of waiting patiently. Inverted, that patient waiting has turned to apathy. It's like, yeah, okay, great, something better might come along, but even if it's sitting there staring me right in the face, even if opportunity comes along and smacks me upside the head, I'm probably just going to go, and not move, and just sit there and complain about how there's nothing good. And it's like, bitch, somebody just tried to offer you a job. But, so that's kind of the Four Swords reversed. Is waiting, patience and apathy. So after that patience, this is where the story gets a little bit wonky. These stories don't run quite in a full storyline, I guess, but you can make it fit. I make it fit. But anyway, after that patience, we've been handed opportunity, but sometimes we lose old opportunities. And we look back and we're like, God. We look back at those 4 fallen cups from the Four of Cups, and we're like, God damn it. I can't believe I lost out on that. I can't believe I let this fall to the wayside. I can't believe I let that relationship get strained. So we're the 5 of Cups. We're looking at these 3 fallen cups, just going, God damn, I can't believe I lost that. But we're tending to be too focused on these cups and either forgetting or sometimes we forget about the opportunities, the good stuff we still have that's represented by these 2 cups back behind this figure. And it's like, what we really need to do is just like, God, I can't believe we lost that, but so it's a card of regret. They're regretting what they lost, but you know, you're gonna get up, turn around, grab those other 2 cups, and move forward into that opportunity and leave the old behind. Inverted or reversed, it's yeah, okay. So inverted, it's actually, okay, I'm getting up. I've added too much to the upright. So the upright is regret. It's like, crap, but we're focused on those fallen cups and just like, I can't believe I lost that. Inverted is when we decide it's okay, I'm going to leave these old things here. I'm going to do my fresh start, go focus on things I still have, go take care of those, go pick up those 2 full cups. So it's that fresh start. Now, that regret, after that, sometimes after going through all that kind of hardship and like losing some stuff and like having to start new, sometimes we look back on that old stuff. And this card, 6 of Cups, nostalgia is the most common card. I actually had it heard it described as magic. I decided to use the keyword magic because some of us aren't very nostalgic about our childhood. It wasn't that great. We spent most of our childhood just wanting to be grown up and leave. So the whole look back at the childhood innocence and all that fun stuff you had as a kid doesn't always work for people. Sometimes it's like, yeah, okay, there were a couple of bright spots, but not enough to make me, like, long for the past. But this card, I don't think we have to go back that far. Honestly, sometimes it's like, damn, I had something really good there. It's like, even say, hell, I could look at something back like 2 years ago that I was like, damn, I had something good there, but it ended up being really toxic. So it's like I can feel nostalgic for the good parts because our minds tend to focus, especially past-wise, on the good stuff. That's the stuff we want to remember. We tend to remember extremes. Either it's really good or it's really bad. No in between. We forget. And we tend to forget one or the other depending on in reference to one thing in particular. So this card of that kind of childhood innocence and magic nostalgia. Nostalgia is still a very good word. I just don't like its connotations with people like nostalgic for childhood. It's like, no, you're nostalgic for something good you like had that you moved on from, you lost, whatever. But this card is basically kind of looking back and going, just having kind of that time of remembrance of, you know, that was really fun. That was really cool. I kissed that girl and, you know, I never saw her again after that summer, but we had a great time. In reverse, it's more about immaturity, that person that's always sitting there. They're 50 years old, but they're still reliving their high school college day or football days, and they're talking about how they won that home run and this home run, and nobody freaking remembers it, but they're stuck there. It's getting stuck in the past, refusing to move on from it. It's like, it was so much better back then, and it's like, yeah, but you didn't have Wi-Fi, and you absolutely throw a bitch fit if you don't if it goes out for like 5 seconds nowadays, so I don't think it was as great as you think it was. Don't think you'd really actually want to go back to that. But yeah, in reverse, it's kind of immaturity and just getting stuck in the past. And getting stuck in something you had before. So after we've kind of looked and had a good walk down memory lane, now it's time to move forward into new opportunities. So here in the Seven of Cups, we have this card could also be has also keywords of confusion and choices. I like it. I like opportunities. It's like you got a bunch of stuff ahead of you. You could choose any one of them. Which one? And for the most part, you don't know what each one's going to look like. But you've got all this opportunity just sitting right in front of you. And you can pick one or two or three type deal. In reverse, I definitely say it's more along the lines of confusion. It's like, crap, I got so much on my plate, and I can go so many ways, and I don't know what to do, and I'm just so overwhelmed is a good keyword, too. It's overwhelmed. That's just like, there's just too much here. I can't make a decision, and I feel like that quite often. Hello, Libra. It's just overwhelmed, unable to really, like, focus on any one thing. Sometimes it's like, sometimes that overwhelm comes in that I've got so many opportunities, I'm just like lost in daydreams of it, and I can't actually make the decision, and it's slipping by me. So it can be, fantasy can be another word for this in reverse. It's like you just lost in the fantasy of what could be instead of actually making a move to go towards it. Upright, we're gonna like see that opportunity and go forward and grab one. And once we've gotten that new opportunity, then we come to Eight of Cups, where we're like, okay, it's time to move forward into this new thing. The Eight of Cups is a little bit of a regretful card because you're leaving behind all these cups that are full and stacked. I mean, some of them are broken and bent. It's like, these are your memories. These are the things you've gone through. This is the stuff you've done, and it's like, it's all built up, but you're like, it's time to move on to something else. And yeah, the cups might fall without me there, but I've got somewhere else to be, somewhere else I want to go, and so it's time to just move on, move forward. And the keyword for this is purpose. It's like, there's somewhere else to be. There's something else to do, I'm moving forward towards it. In reverse, sometimes it's like, well, I lost all these, it's usually, you know you want to go forward, and you know you're ready to, and that where you are right now is not it's no good for you anymore. It's not helping you grow. There's no opportunity, nothing more to do. But you just don't want to kind of move, so you're kind of just drifting aimlessly with no purpose. It's just like, I could go, but I'm scared of the wide world in front of me, and I know where I am, and even though it's kind of just like, bleh, I don't want to quite move. This is kind of just feeling purposeless, just kind of drifting around, apathetic, not wanting to go. But once we do take that opportunity and we do move forward, and we leave the old things behind, then we get to our Nine of Cups, which is satisfaction. It's like, oh, I found something new, I'm filling my cups up, this person's standing on a balcony with cups all in front of him, and actually that side for that is Muse with the cornucopia flying by, so it's like, you know, he's got a full cups, he's got all kinds of things, there's all kinds of, satisfaction, he's satisfied with all the stuff he's gained. In reverse, it's often, greed is the keyword I found with it. It's like, yeah, I have all this stuff, but I want more, and I want more, and it's never enough, and I need more and more and more. It's like, girl, chill the fuck out. You don't need that much more. It's like, just calm down. It's like, she's like, no, I need more and more and more. I was like, no, you don't. There's such a thing. You've only got 9 cups. You can't, like, you're gonna overflow them, and it's gonna cause a mess, and you'll end up like Alice in Wonderland, riding a bottle through her tears. Through her ocean of tears. But yeah, so satisfaction. And then 10 of Cups. So in the 9 of Cups, we were satisfied. We'd filled things up. We gotten pretty much where we're good at. And 10 of Cups is when we're like, we're fulfilled. We're full of stuff. It's like, damn, this is awesome where we are. It's just, it's taking that time to just have a moment of just feeling amazing. And fulfilled and all that. So, yeah, so that's the 10 of Cups. And in inverse, it's like, we went and gorged on candy and chocolate, and now we're feeling really sick because, yeah, that's a little too much sweetness. So inverted, it's like, well, there's a couple reasons, couple ways you could do it. You could either do, you've had too much, everything's kind of bleh now, or you're completely unfulfilled. All that stuff has been snatched and taken from you. All these cups are now empty, and it's like that fun rainbow is now up in the wrong way, and it's like, I just, not fulfilled, not happy. And sometimes we can't see that we do have full cups right there. Sometimes we're just not feeling satisfied or fulfilled, and we're just like, yeah, okay, I have the mansion and the cars and the girlfriend and yada 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 or whatever, and we're just like, but I'm not happy. Sometimes we're just not happy with what we have. Which is why we always continue on to the next new thing, as we can see from this side on the 10 of Cups, where we have the Ace of Cups in the distance. Fun how these all circle around, because every time we reach an end, we start again. And, like I said, spiraling upwards. So, we've hit a minute and 11, and I think I am going to go ahead and do the Pentacles with the Majors in part 3. That way you're not stuck here for 3 hours listening to me. That's why I've split these. I mean, you can still listen to them all in order, but I have to take a breather, so I will see you all in part 3. Like, comment, and subscribe. Check out my links down below for email, Facebook, and Patreon if you feel like supporting me, or if you want to give me comments and questions, email me. Likes, always appreciated. I like to know that more people than me like this. But anyway, whatever you feel like, so have a good rest of your whatever, and I will see you in part 3, and then again in February, or whenever the hell you watch it. Alright, bye.